Here are 5 running backs with league-winning upside, and watch until the end for a bonus league-winning running back. Let's start with number 1, Aaron Jones of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, last year, yes, Jones missed 6 games, limited in others. It was not a great season. But I want you to understand that Jones missed only 4 games in the prior 4 seasons total. So durability is a little bit overblown with Jones. Now, remember last year down the stretch when Jones was healthy, he was the workhorse back, 118 or more scrimmage yards in his last 5 games. And in terms of measurables, 64th percentile broken tackle rate, 75th percentile after contact, and as a pass catcher, 73rd percentile after the catch. So he is still playing at a high level. Now, remember, Aaron Jones was signed to a 1-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings. They have no motivation to preserve him. Green Bay was always trying to limit Jones's touches. May not be the case. The coaches are talking about Ty Chandler being a co-number 1. Please, that is laughable. Ty Chandler is as ordinary of a running back as they come. Aaron Jones is still a dynamic runner, one of the best in the league. This is not going to be a strict timeshare in any way, despite what the coaches say. Remember, the Vikings have a very good offensive line. They have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison for defenses to worry about, so there should be room for Jones to work. Also, without an accomplished quarterback, Jones could see a lot of work as a receiver. Number 2, Joe Mixon of the Houston Texans. Now look, Mixon has been a compiler for most of his career, and there is nothing wrong with being a compiler for fantasy. Mixon's normally right around 4 yards per carry, normally does not have great numbers in broken tackles or yards after contact, but he always sees close to 300 touches a season. In the last 3 years, he averages 303 touches. Now, receptions-wise, you'll see Mixon in the 50 catch range, and that should be the same in Houston because last year, Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce got 43 passes. So when Mixon has the ball, he's going to have room to run. First of all, the Bobby Slowick offense is very, very friendly to running backs. The Houston offensive line is good. In terms of receivers, we have Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. There's not going to be a lot of traffic for Joe Mixon, and he'll be heavily used at the goal line as well. Number 3, James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. Did you know Conner had a career-high 5 yards per carry last year? His next best, 4.5. Those came in the first 2 years of his career. Also, it was Conner's first 1,000-yard season. Now, in terms of his ability with the ball in his hands, breaking tackles, 94th percentile. Yards after contact, 97th percentile. Weeks 13 to 18, he was dominant. 23.9 PPR points, and those came when Kyler Murray was healthy and back in the lineup. Now, also, Conner had his 2 good receiving games of the year when Murray was there, so we could look for a bounce back in terms of receiving. Now, look, the Cardinals did sign Trey Benson in the draft. Conner was already giving up work to backups last year, and it should be the same. Conner will be the lead back here. He's going to miss time to injury. We know 3 to 4 games a season. We're going to be without him. Live with it. The draft cost bakes that in, but Conner will be a league winner when on the field. If you enjoy videos like these, considering hitting the like and subscribe to the new RotoWire YouTube channel. Number 4, Rhamondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. Now look, Stevenson had a really bad 2023 season. For the second time in 3 years, he missed 5 games. When he was on the field, the offensive line started out horribly for the Patriots. Got a little better as the season went on. The quarterback play could not have been worse, and there were stacked boxes. The offense was sluggish. Stevenson never really had a chance. He was above average in breaking tackles and yards after contact. We know he's a solid receiver and a goal line back. The only competition that he really has is Antonio Gibson. Now, I like Gibson as a player, but we've seen in his career, he really doesn't make a big dent, and he often loses work. So we could see Stevenson as a 3-down back, definitely at the goal line. If the offense is even a little bit better, Stevenson could come in with a monster season. Number 5, Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, it was a small sample last year. We didn't see Brown much until later in the season. Brown broke tackles at a 95th percentile rate, and after contact, 97th percentile. Now, coming out of Illinois, I love Brown as a potential receiver, and I think he's going to walk into that role this season. Zach Moss will need to talk about. He is the other back. and he was signed in free agency. But after week 5 last year, Zach Moss, running behind a very good Indy offensive line, was less than 4 yards per carry. The line's not going to be that good in Cincinnati. Now, Moss as a receiver, only 39th percentile after the catch. So Chase Brown should be a full-time pass catcher, and he should be able to cut into Moss's work. But if Moss plays the same way he played in the second half of last season, Brown could see even more work early. All right, since you stayed to the end, here's a bonus running back with league-winning upside. Let's go with Kendre Miller of the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints drafted Miller in the 3rd round last year. Miller missed a couple games early, 7 of the last 8 games with an ankle injury. The early games were a hamstring, preseason injury. But that said, small sample size again. But Miller, 75th percentile broken tackle rate. He was very good after contact. And the problem is Alvin Kamara. We loved him for fantasy. He was a star, over 1,100 yards in 13 games. But here's the problem. The coaches saw that Kamara could no longer break tackles, 15th percentile. He could no longer get yards after contact, 27th percentile, worse as a receiver. So that said, Kamara's another year older. Miller looked good in limited work. It'll start out as Kamara's backfield to a degree. Miller's going to be involved. But if another year of aging from Kamara hits, we're going to see Kendre Miller step into a very prominent role, and he could become a league winner.